The Purple Heart is the oldest American decoration established by George Washington in 1792. It's traditionally associated with serious military injuries. It requires, at a minimum, a wound suffered under hostile fire from fire of the enemy that requires medical treatment.
One of my medics called me and said, "Hey, Doc, come here, we've got a wounded officer." So I went over to the treatment area and met Lieutenant Kerry, and I just, in the course of talking with him, I said, "You know, what happened?" He said, "Well, we were in a firefight, and we received small arms fire from shore."
There were only 3 people in the boat. There was Bill Shackney, John Kerry, who had been in country probably for a week or so at the time, and an enlisted man. Bill thought he heard something, then he was sure he heard something. They quieted the boat down. He shot a flare, then he thought he saw something, and he opened up with his M60, at which time Kerry opened up with his M16, and both weapons jammed. And then as Shackney was clearing the jam in his 60, he heard the grenade launcher go off.
John Kerry, when no one was watching, picked up a grenade launcher and fired a grenade carelessly too close to the boat. There was no hostile fire, and when Kerry's grenade exploded, it placed a tiny piece of shrapnel in Kerry's arm.
Bill had no idea that Kerry had been wounded, supposedly wounded.
And what he had was a small piece of metal in his arm that was consistent with the shrapnel, a little metal shards that came from an M79 round when it exploded. It was about the size of this thing I am holding up with the clamp here.
In fact, it was when Kerry came to Bill and said, or came to Skip Hibbert, the division commander, and said, "I'd like a Purple Heart." And then they looked at they reviewed the activities the night before. Of course, there was no report written on the night before because there was no hostile fire.
It was the furthest thing from their mind that Kerry would receive any sort of medal for his negligent action. Shackney was shocked, as were the other people in the unit, when they learned that Kerry had actually attempted to obtain a Purple Heart.
And that's what started this whole saga. And Hibbert said, "Hey, listen, you took no hostile fire, you can't have a Purple Heart, but I'm putting you in for one." And Shackney said, "No hostile fire, we can't do that."
And the next morning I received reports that they did not receive any enemy fire. And yet John Kerry showed me a very, very minor wound in which he thought he should get a Purple Heart for it. I told him, forget it.
To this day, we don't know how he got that first Purple Heart. He was denied that the action was on 2 December. He was denied shortly after that by his division commander, Lieutenant Commander Skip Hibbert. And 3 months later, it was awarded, and we don't know who authorized it.
To make your records available, you must sign a Form 180. That will allow the Navy to release all your records, and the whole thing could be cleared up very easily. Kerry has refused to sign a Form 180.
The medical record was dated December 3rd. I think that Purple Heart citation is dated February 28th or 27th, something like that. It was almost 3 months after the incident occurred.
John Kerry's first Purple Heart was clearly undeserved.
John Kerry did not deserve that first Purple Heart. None of the criteria was met. How he got it, nobody knows.
The entire squadron and all the people you served with in Vietnam wonder, John Kerry, how you obtained that first Purple Heart. They know that on the evening of December 2nd, 1968, the Purple Heart was denied first by Dr. Letson. They know that you came in the office and met with Lieutenant Commander Hibbert, and that he denied the Purple Heart. So did the officer in charge of the mission, Lieutenant Shackney, now a Rear Admiral in the United States Navy. And all the people that serve with you, John Kerry, wonder, how did you 3 months later obtain this Purple Heart from an officer who knew absolutely nothing about the situation?